Hello and welcome to a spooky GWeek episode for Halloween. Today we'll be covering everything from Harris's closing remarks on the National Mall to the flash floods in Spain. I also have a special surprise for this episode, so you better stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. I'm Abigail Brubaker.
And I'm Jack McGuire. There's no shortage of news right now, so let's hop right in. 2 ballot drop boxes were set on fire in Washington State and Oregon on Monday by devices marked with the words Free Gaza. Almost all of the ballots from the Washington drop box were damaged or destroyed, but most of the ballots in the Oregon drop box survived the fire. Clark County Auditor Greg Kimsey said about 475 ballots were recovered from the Washington drop box. Voting in both of these states is mostly done through mail or ballot drop-off. Officials said the evidence suggests the incidents were linked and the suspect vehicle has been identified. Investigators are still searching for the suspect.
This past weekend, the RHA celebrated Halloween on both campuses with some spooky fun. Dan Salim has more.
For GW students, Halloween is the best night of the year. This Halloween's wickedly warm temperatures, the highest they've been in decades, will certainly bring out more trick-or-treaters than usual. This year, RHA on both the Verne and Foggy Bottom campus decided to throw some scary good events for students to experience and celebrate this spooky holiday. On the Verne, students used Eccles Library to create a maze and haunted house that they could walk through, creating a fun and terrifying atmosphere for those who entered. Back in Foggy Bottom, students used the lobby of Amdam to do some fun fall and Halloween activities, like painting and giving chances for students to win prizes. District House also had a setup, letting students walk through to take some time to decompress from midterms and have some October fun. The president of Amdam's RHA Council walked us through the logistics of the event.
Basically what we're doing is each hall, Amsterdam, Shankman, District, South, Thurston, and Potomac, is having an event like this. And what you're going to do is go to each hall and get the symbol filled out on your paper. And then you'll fill out your name, your phone number, your email. And once you get all of them filled out, you have a chance to win a prize.
We also spoke with some of the leaders of the RHA events, including the Hall Council of Potomac Hall, who drew in lots of students with their slime making station.
We set up this community event here for Halloween.
We have glue and we have activators, so all of our residents can come and
We made slime, we have glitter, we have little trinkets. I don't even know what this is. My hands are green.
and any color in the world you could want.
All in all, the RHA's attempts to bring back the nostalgic activities of Halloween time for college students was greatly received by students all across campus.
Happy Halloween, GW!
For GWeek, this is Dan Salim.
Thanks, Dan. Recent flash floods in Valencia, Spain have killed 155 people as of October 31st. According to NBC News, quote, a year's worth of rain fell in just 8 hours in areas around the city, fueling the worst natural disaster in the country's modern history. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has urged people to shelter in place as the flash flooding is not finished. Authorities expect the death toll to continue to rise, especially as emergency services are still searching for missing people. More than 1,000 soldiers have been deployed by the Spanish government to help with recovery efforts. Meteorologists have attributed the devastating flooding to a phenomenon referred to as gota fria, or cold drop. Cold drops are most commonly seen in the fall and are a process where a pool of cool air high in the atmosphere can separate from the jet stream, causing it to move slowly and often lead to high-impact rainfall. Scientists need further analysis in order to confirm the exact way in which global warming caused the flash flooding in the case of Valencia. However, CNN stated that scientists agree that global warming has, without a doubt, increased the likelihood and intensity of extreme rainfall events, especially as global warming has been driven by fossil fuel pollution.
Next up, a mother is suing an AI company over the death of her son. As a quick warning, this story contains mentions of suicide and self-harm. Nicole has the story.
A 14-year-old boy from Orlando, Florida, committed suicide after becoming attached to an AI. The boy, known as Swell Setzer III, claimed to be in love with an AI chat version of the character Daenerys Targaryen from the popular drama series Game of Thrones. Swell had reportedly been chatting with the AI character, to whom he called Danny, for months, as he felt the AI character had given him a place of support and comfort. However, as Swell grew more attached to Danny, he started to, in his own words, detach from reality. His parents and friends started to notice multiple changes in his behavior as his grades began to fall short and his interests no longer seemed important to him. After revealing to Danny that he was having feelings of self-hatred and emptiness, Swell confessed that he had thoughts of self-harm. That was the last conversation he had with the AI before Swell took his life on February 28th. Swell's mother filed a lawsuit against Character AI and said it was responsible for her son's death. She plans to argue that the technology is dangerous and untested and can trick consumers into handing over their most private thoughts and feelings. The lawsuit is still ongoing, so there will be more updates to come. This is Nicole Kumite for GWeek.
Thanks, Nicole. 2 pandas are back at the National Zoo after their emotional farewell last November. These pandas departed due to soured relations between the U.S. and China, with members of the Chinese population demanding they be returned to their original homes. The zoo announced that they came to an agreement with the Chinese government, and a pair of adult pandas made their way back into the district. News of this agreement spread fast throughout the National Zoo, and the displays of panda merchandise held a prominent position in the gift shops. These pandas will have limited human contact as they arrive and will be placed in quarantine to get acclimated into the area. Make sure you make your way down to the National Zoo to see these furry friends.
GW fraternities and sororities are alleging that GW Housing is targeting members with DSS accommodation by requiring 95% of the rooms in the Greek Life housing to be filled. According to an unnamed source involved with Greek Life, members with DSS accommodations usually live alone in a 2-person room, lovingly called dingles. However, now the new rule would allegedly force DSS students to pay double the amount they usually do to be able to have the space they would traditionally be designated. Greek Life members made an appeal to GW Housing to change the rule, saying it's not just DSS students. They are already struggling to fill the rooms. When a Greek Life entity does not fill their beds, they are fined by GW. Similarly, as many of these housing rosters are decided at least a semester ahead, it forces their executive board to scramble to pull members in. It's still unclear whether GW Housing plans to take any action in the coming days.
A shocking new development has occurred in the continuing war between Ukraine and Russia. According to the United States government, North Korean troops have been sent to Ukraine to fight alongside Russia. Thomas Shea has the story.
In world news, North Korea has sent an estimated 10,000 troops to fight alongside Russia in Ukraine, according to reports confirmed by the Pentagon and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. This comes after North Korean troops were seen training at a Russian military site on videos posted to social media. Some of the dispatched soldiers appear to be from the elite Storms Corps unit, which according to South Korean officials were previously trained to invade South Korea. These most recent developments come over 2 years after Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022, which Russian President Putin called a special military operation. This was an escalation in the Russo-Ukraine War, which began in 2014, following Russia's annexation of Crimea. According to the Center for Preventative Action's Global Conflict Tracker, Ukraine has recaptured 54% of occupied territory, while Russia still holds 18% of the country. While largely seen as an unsuccessful initial invasion, the war has had immense effects on the region, including 39,000 civilian casualties and injuries, 3.7 million internally displaced people, and an additional 6.5 million people having fled Ukraine. On October 21st, the United States Defense Department announced an aid package for Ukraine valued around $400 million. When asked whether Ukraine should strike back if North Korean troops enter the country, President Joe Biden responded, "If they cross into Ukraine, yes." Speaking at a press conference in Iceland this week, Ukrainian President Zelensky referenced the North Korean soldiers, saying, "We think that they will have 12,000 soon." For GWeek, I'm Thomas Shea.
Thanks, Thomas. When we come back, we'll talk with our very own weatherman, Dan, about what you can look for in the upcoming week.
Good morning and welcome back. My name is Dan Salim, aka Weatherman Dan, and we've got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. So taking a look at this upcoming week's weather, we're starting to see a little rain on Monday morning, but it shouldn't be any more than a quick shower. As we move to Tuesday, remember that it's election day, but the weather shouldn't get in your way on the way to the ballot box with optimal mid-60s sunshine all day. Temperature-wise, we're noticing a peak in rising temperatures on Wednesday, but then it's going to sort of mellow out and we're going to have a slow plateau of high to mid-50s at the tail end of the week. Overall, don't let these moderately chill fall days get away from you. It's prime sweater weather season, so go outside, study, go for a run, and maybe even go for a picnic out on the National Mall, because I have a feeling that we won't see shockingly high temperatures like we did this Halloween, at least until springtime. So now we're going to move over to the touchscreen. So just looking to the west of us, look at this really strong line of precipitation. It's coming towards us, but luckily it's going to break away Wednesday night, as you can see right here. Monday, it's coming close, but then it breaks away on Wednesday night. So we aren't going to get much of a substantial downpour. But here on the mid-Atlantic coast, we're seeing this sense of dryness. And what we're going to say is that it will be affected by these blue patches of snow coming towards us, because when we don't have any precipitation and we have dryness, that accounts for really, really cold days. So expect that these possible cold fronts pushing through the west coast are going to cause a lot of drops in temperatures all over the eastern seaboard. So be sure to keep your jackets handy, because I would say that our 50s would drop to 40s later in the next few weeks. Now, before we talk about this year's winter, I want to talk about what's been happening down near Florida. Obviously, Hurricane Milton was a devastation to Florida's west coast, and by all official accounts, it looks like hurricane season is over. But after last week's tropical storm in Cuba, this large group of precipitation right here is worrying me. I don't think it's going to turn into a hurricane, but Floridians on the east coast should buckle down for some stormy days starting later this week. All right, we're going to move back to the big screen now. Now, it's time for our yearly analysis of this winter's climate factors. And last year, we spoke about how jet streams affected our abnormal winter called El Nino. So he's going to be taking a break this year. But he's got a sister, and her name is La Nina. So who is she? Well, in contrast to El Nino's southern jet stream trends, La Nina adjusts these gusts of winds, and she takes them higher than El Nino usually would. So this is going to cause cooler and wetter temperatures in the north and drier temperatures in the south. Now let's look at what that does for us this winter. So when it comes down to temperatures for this winter season, the warmer shades are going to indicate less than average temperatures. And so that's going to go from Southern California, from the south border, all the way up until the northeast. So that's where you're going to get more than usual warmer temperatures for the winter. And up here, that northeast section is going to bear the brunt of those lower conditions. Now, moving on to precipitation, we see that the patterns show the above areas of the Northwest and the Great Lakes region having that precipitation, which is going to cause a lot of snow in those areas. Unfortunately, for DC and the rest of the East Coast, snow looks really improbable this year. But remember, anything can happen, and I'm a huge believer in wishful thinking along with spoons under beds and inside-out pajamas. So as we begin our transition into winter 2024, bundle up and keep your shovels handy just in case we're met with a pleasant snowy surprise. Keep an eye out for your hometowns and their patterns as La Nina takes haste, and have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there, GW. I'm Weatherman Dan. That was your forecast, and signing off till next time. Back to you, Abby and Jack.
Thanks, Dan. On October 30th, GW's Institute for Data, Democracy, and Politics hosted a conversation with former Congressman Liz Cheney in partnership with the Knight Foundation. The event, titled Defending Democracy, delved into questions surrounding the upcoming election. Cheney's endorsement of Harris and preserving the country's democratic institutions and principles held in GW's Jack Morton Auditorium. Students, staff, faculty, alumni, and VIP guests from various organizations were all in attendance, intent on hearing Cheney's views on party divisions and on how that will impact the final days leading up to the election. While a large part of the conversation focused on Cheney's belief of another Trump presidency posing a threat to democracy and how it could exacerbate the continuing effects of January 6th. She placed an emphasis on the importance of voting, urging everyone, especially all of the students in the room, to make their voice heard this election.
Make sure to mark your calendars for the grand opening of the National Geographic Museum in 2026. Hadassah has more on what to expect from this new DC museum.
National Geographic Museum in Washington, D.C. temporarily closed in February 2023 to reimagine its purpose and experience. More than a year and a half later, National Geographic is finally giving us a first-time look at its plans for the reimagined Museum of Exploration, set to open in 2026. Officially announced on October 21st, the museum promises massive exhibits that highlight the wonders of our world through an immersive experience of exploration and discovery. Headquartered in Washington, D.C. since 1888, National Geographic anticipates the reimagining of its museum, fondly dubbed Base Camp, as, quote, the most significant expansion in our history. The museum will offer a variety of attractions, including unique educational exhibitions designed to inspire the next generation of scientists, changemakers, and storytellers. Visitors will learn about incredible communities, wildlife, and cultures from around the globe, access historic archives, and enjoy interactive experiences. Additional perks include a new retail store, restaurant, and theater, enhancing what promises to be a truly unique experience.
Thanks, Hadassah. As Israel has begun widening the scope of their strikes on Hezbollah targets, Israel's military has warned civilians to move out of Baalbek in the Bekaa Valley, a location further into Lebanon that has previously been spared. The Israeli military began launching airstrikes into the eastern Lebanese city on Wednesday, October 30th. While initial attacks were centered on southern border towns, these most recent strikes have moved to coastal regions and urban centers. As the conflict intensifies, CIA Director William J. Burns and other top White House officials are renewing their push for a diplomatic solution, with a goal of reaching a temporary ceasefire between Israel, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The new leader of Hezbollah, Naim Qassem, signaled he was open to finding acceptable terms for a truce. However, he is not willing to accept Israel's current conditions.
Coming up, we'll be talking with lifestyle anchors Nina Rodriguez and Cassidy Corey about Love is Blind at DC and its very interesting shooting locations.
Team after an abysmal year with the Flyers. Andrei Svechnikov makes his return this season.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Love is in the air, DC. Netflix has taken on the challenge of tackling the notoriously bleak dating scene in the nation's capital by featuring DC in the newest season of Love is Blind. This reality show aims to prove that looks don't matter by attempting to create matches solely based on verbal communication. After the couples prove that they have a strong connection, they are allowed to unite in person and get engaged. I'm Nina, joined by Cassidy, and we're here to break down the filming locations of this recent season and show you just where to find love around the district.
The season's most adored couple, Taylor and Garrett, had a scenic date at Ciel Social Club. This upscale rooftop and lounge have gorgeous city views and provide the perfect romantic ambiance or Instagram background. Another featured restaurant is across the river in Arlington. Nick D and Hannah ate at Tupelo Honey Cafe during their time together. This restaurant serves up Southern comfort food such as warm biscuits and fried green tomatoes that are undeniably delicious. While Ramses and Marissa did not have the most agreeable ending, one thing they can agree on is a great restaurant. Marissa introduced Ramses to her family at a Mexican-Lebanese restaurant in Ivy City, Vera. This innovative fusion restaurant is open for all 3 meals and has a beautifully designed space.
This season featured some very unique date ideas in the DMV. Monica and Steven went on an adorable outing at Planter, a plant boutique and interior design company The small business taught the couple to press flowers and create the cutest home decor. Located in the DuPont Circle, Adams Morgan neighborhood, Planter has everything from gardening to home decor. Also, they have a cafe and workspace to take in the natural scenery, which is perfect for us students. Another creative date was a trip to quaint Old Town Alexandria. The stationery store in the heart of Old Town hosted Taylor and Garrett for a calligraphy lesson. Whether it's to create personalized stationery or simply shop for office supplies, Penny Post has it all.
Lastly, Tyler and Ashley went on an adrenaline-rushing outing at K1 Speed in Northern Virginia. K1 Speed is a franchise of indoor go-karting that is the perfect place to let your competitive side shine. This location allows all kinds of activities, from arriving with no reservation, birthday parties, and larger group outings, to corporate bonding events. K1 Speed is the perfect place to escape the stresses of the city and let the adrenaline rush through you.
That would definitely be my choice of thing to do among all of those options. I love go-karting. I went for the first time this summer, and I could not stop. It was amazing. What about you, Jack?
I don't want to do any of those. They all sound awful.
Really?
Well, I might be hopping on the metro later because I love fried green tomatoes.
Ooh,
I went to South Carolina this summer, and I had them like every day.
I've never tried fried green tomatoes, but they do seem really good.
A lot better than the red ones, I'm going to be honest.
All right.
I feel like for me, I'd want to try Planter because I don't know. I love anything very crafty and like artsy,
yeah.
and like I don't know, the fact that you get to like personalize it, like that's really cute. And also, I've been getting a lot of recommendations to check out Adams Morgan. So
You haven't been up to Adams Morgan yet?
no, I haven't.
Well, just take a hike up 18th Street and you'll be there.
yeah.
Beautiful
I'm
neighborhood.
only a freshman. I haven't been around too much yet.
You got to explore. Get out of
Yeah.
Foggy Bottom.
Get out of
There's
Foggy.
a whole world out there.
The foggy bubble is real.
Sure is.
Vice President Kamala Harris's rally at the Ellipse this past Tuesday had an estimated turnout of 75,000 people, according to the Harris campaign. This was almost double the expected 40,000 projected by the National Park Service. In her speech, Harris expressed wishes to lower costs, protect abortion rights, and introduce a plan to add in-home care to Medicare. Harris also stressed the importance of bipartisanship throughout her speech, saying, quote, "I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy," and later adding, "It is time to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms." She ended the 30-minute speech by reflecting on America's past and encouraging people to vote in the honor of those who fought for civil liberties before us, saying, quote, "They did not struggle, sacrifice, and lay down their lives only to see us cede our fundamental freedoms, only to see us submit to the will of another petty tyrant," end quote. Continuing, she remarked, "The United States of America is not a vessel for the scheme of wannabe dictators."
Amen, Kamala.
The George Washington University, at the intersection of policy, practice, and research, connecting all that Washington has to offer with an intellectual environment that drives progress, transforming vision into action, offering learning experiences that are rigorous, real-time, and real-world. In a city shaping the future, George Washington is a place where faculty and students don't just study the world, they work to change it.
U.S. astronauts cast their absentee ballots for the 2024 presidential election from the International Space Station. As long as voters are registered in a former state of residence, they can vote from anywhere, including 250 miles above the Earth. Instead of a normal mail-in ballot, voting ballots are downloaded on the ISS to be uploaded and encrypted down to Mission Control in Houston, Texas. That has made the system known as Vote While You Float possible for this year's election. With the election so close in contested states, one is left to wonder whether these space ballots will have a notable impact on polling numbers.
That's all we have for you this episode. For GWeek, I'm Abigail Brubaker.
And I'm Jack McGuire. Hope you had a spooky and safe Halloween, GW.